That man is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
Hey True Believer, and welcome to Gamers Web. Today we're going to take a look at something really special and something I've been waiting for quite a while. This is Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures game, the brand new game from Atomic Mass Studios, and it looks pretty amazing. Okay, this game was announced during the Fantasy Flight in-flight seminar on the eve of Gen Con this year, and has caused quite a lot of stir because it's come from a brand new company. Although the actual designers aren't brand new, they're industry veterans, and it's taken the Marvel IP to a new direction. Okay, so let's not mess about, let's just jump straight into things. Okay, so amazing artwork on the front cover, and we turn over and have a look what we get inside this very heavy box. Okay, so the universe is beset by crisis. Who will rise up and answer the call? Welcome, True Believer, to Marvel Crisis Protocol, a tabletop hobby miniatures game of cinematic combat. Assemble your team from across the Marvel universe and lead your superpowered forces against friends in battle of cataclysmic proportions. Unleash the power of the cosmic cube with the Red Skull and rend the very fabric of reality around your foes. Lead from the front and leap into the line of fire with Captain America. Harness the might of the binary star with Captain Marvel and send trucks and even buildings careering into your enemies. As powerful as each character is, none of them can win the day alone. It's up to you to lead them. With each game of Marvel Crisis Protocol will require bold tactics and cunning strategy to achieve ultimate victory, at least until the next crisis come along. Step off the sidelines and into the amazing action of Marvel Crisis Protocol. Okay, that's just the blurb, as you can tell. The game comes with 10 excellently detailed miniatures, a wealth of terrain, including 2 vehicles, a building, and some street accessories, loads of templates, loads of range rulers, which are not cardboard, they're made out of plastic, unlike some other games, and the characters' cards. Well, you know what, we'll just jump straight in. Okay, so if you've been following Gamers Web for a while, over on the website, you'll see that I have been following this game since it was announced in July, and each week the guys over at Atomic Mass Games have been doing their own live streams over on Twitch. Now, I signed up on Twitch just specifically to actually watch things unfold, and it's been well worth it, let me tell you. It's been very fun, and the guys are all really friendly and approachable. So if you get the chance and you want to find more about this game, check out the Twitch stream. I'll put the link down into the details down below. Check out the Twitch stream every Thursday at 1 PM Pacific time, which works out at 9 PM Greenwich Mean Time, or British Summer Time. Okay, right, so let's jump straight in. Now, this is quite a heavy box, and I've got that new, there we go, squeakiness. So first thing you get is our how to play rulebook, and as you see, it's got CP1 written on the top, and it looks very much like a comic book, because that's the way they designed everything to look like a comic book, because it's a comic book miniature game. Okay, so we'll look through this in a moment. It's got a quick reference guide, and it's got assembly guides for the miniatures and your basic introduction to the games. This, however, like Fantasy Flight's Star Wars Legion, is not the core rules. This is a how to play. You need to actually download the core rules for free from the Atomic Mass Games website, which I will again put the link down this side here somewhere. Okay, right, so put that to one side for a moment. We get our character cards, which we'll also have a look in a moment. With there's 10 character cards, which are double-sided, and then we get our 2 sheets of tokens. I think there's 120 tokens altogether. So we got wounds, objectives, bleed, activation, power tokens, which are very important. And then we've got other little things like tokens for victory conditions, Captain America tokens, Captain Marvel token, and there's a couple of others there. And then we've got other objective markers, and then we've also got our 2 consoles, which you activate your, you keep a track of your victory points and things. Okay, so that's the card out of the way. I will leave it in my review. There's a full description of all the cards and how they all work. and you'll be able to check that out in the link below. Okay, so as you can see, there's a massive bag of things in here. Right. The game uses 8-sided dice, and we'll just have a quick look at one of those. Okay, so the 8-sided die, you've got 8 faces, obviously, because it's an 8-sided dice. Starting off with, we've got the failure, a wild, that's a hit, and that's a crit. And then there is a block. Right, so depending on what you have actually done, depends on what you know, what you roll is what you get. Wilds allow you to re-roll and do wilds allow you to do certain effects. Crits allow you to do re-rolls. Skulls are well, they're not something you want to see. Skulls stop more or less any re-rolls happening. Okay, so one of the things you get is a lovely piece of terrain here, which is the Daily Bugle building, complete with dustbin and newsstand. And there's this is a size 4 building, I think. All the buildings have a size number on the bottom of them, so you can throw them at people. Right, that's the front and the back of the building, and then all the other part of the building's on one of those sprues. Pop that down there. There's so much stuff to look through, but my review goes into everything in depth. We have street lamps and sidewalk crossings, or traffic lights as we call them here in the UK. You've got 2 sets of those, and then this is one of the things that I really like, because I hate doing bases on miniatures. It's one of my pet peeves, and it's something I'm not very good at doing. But here we get our bases, which are, you know, like they're already sculpted. And the good thing is they've not wasted things on the sprue. Rather than just give you the 2 bases, you actually get little coffee cups, bottles and cans. And there's enough bases there. There's 2 big bases, one for Ultron and one for Doc Octopus. And then the other 8 bases are for the rest of the characters. Okay, so next bag along, we have the rest of our building. So there's the sides and the doors, and that's the floor of the building. And as you can see on the bottom there is a 3. That means this building's a size 3, which means you can pick it up and throw it at somebody if you can lift it. And then we have a first of our 2 vehicles. Sorry, we have the chassis of our 2 vehicles. Now both of these are identical. These very simple to put together. They come with the as you can see there's the wing mirrors, and there's also a wee sign that says taxi. There's 2 of those. That's the wheels and base of the cars. And you may find when you open the box, you think, oh, hang on, I've not got my cars. Well, if you look underneath here, they have cunningly placed the cars on this side. And the cars are 1/43 scale, and look pretty neat. I'll show you a side-by-side comparison with one of our other 1/43 scale cars in just one moment, if I can remember where I've put it. Right. Okay, so more or less spot on for 1/43. Little bit chunky on the wheels on the die-cast one, but these are fantastic, and they look brilliant when they're actually assembled and painted up, especially if you're someone like Dallas Kemp, who's like an amazing miniature painter, which is, you know, understandable because he's the art director for the company. Okay, so you also get 2 dumpsters. These are identical, along with the damage control symbol on the front. Damage control, for those of you who don't know or don't read the comics, is the company formed by Tony Stark that goes round and cleans up after superhero battles and the damage and all the collateral damage that falls out from superheroes. Okay, so now we get to the rest of the gubbins, we actually get to the characters. In fact, you know what? We'll do the characters last. So the game uses cards, like most games do. We have our mission cards. So missions work in two ways, which I'll explain in a moment. You've got extraction and an objective for your missions, and you choose when you're setting up, you choose the missions between you secretly and then play them down. That's the mission you play. Okay, we've got our actual tactics cards for the teams. So Age of Ultron, 1-2 Punch, Sucker, Smash, Disarm. Now some of these are actually only usable by a certain person or a certain faction. Others are unaffiliated, which usually means that anybody can use them. So just try and find one that says that it's got the Cabal, Cosmic Invigoration. That can only be used by Cabal members. And then there's an Avengers, one Avengers Assemble can only be used by the Avengers. And then we've actually got the roster for the Avengers. You get 2 of those, and sorry, 1 of each, because they're both silent on the Avengers and the Cabal. And that's how you lay out your terrain. You've got ACE and BDF. They're basically quite simple way of laying out your terrain for each mission. So each mission will be slightly different. And terrain is a very, very important part of this game, because all the terrain is it's not destructible. It's it's destructible. You can destroy all the terrain. Okay. Next we have our range rulers and movement rulers. Now movement rulers and range rulers come in various sizes. Let's get them all out, and they're all made out of hard plastic. Everything in here is made out of hard plastic. So the range rulers, that's the biggest range, which is range 5. And as you can see, it's got like a flame effect on it. I thought when I first saw these they were going to be made of cardboard. They're not, they're hard plastic. They're fantastic. That's range 4. Then we've got range 2. And if I can find it, and there's range 3. And you may be wondering, where's range 1? That's range 1. And range 1 is literally the width of any of the bases, so it saves them making an extra template. Right, and then we have our rulers, if I can just get the right ones together. Okay, so we have 3 different range rulers. We have small, medium and large. Short, medium, long, sorry. So that's the medium one. As you can see, it's got nice embossed cityscape with a Hulk jumping on one side. And then we have the short, which just pops together like this. And the short is somebody just taking a quick run. And I think it works out about 2 inches or something like that for the short. And then there's the medium. Sorry, where are we? The long is a flyer. Quite a long range ruler when you actually compare that one to that one. You know, they're quite a big ruler. In fact, I can't even get that in without pushing it further down. Okay, right, so that's the rulers out of the way. They're very important because movement obviously is a very important part of the game. Okay, so looking at the art characters first. Okay, so we have the 2 big ones in this bag. This one is Doc Ock, or Dr. Octavius, Octo Octavius, or Dr. Octopus. Now, all the muscle structure is fantastic, and if we actually zoom in and have a look at his head, sorry, the light's not very good today, but he's awesome. He's really, really good, and I'll put some high-res images of all the miniatures down below. Don't get any extras with Doc Ock. He's just basically, as you see, with his arms folded and his tentacles. Next up, for the villains, we also have Ultron. And Ultron is a big, beefy character when built. And again, he's fantastic. He goes together quite well. His head is 2 parts. And he's probably the most fiddliest of all the miniatures put together in the core set. Okay, so after Ultron, we then go into our bag of goods, goodies. Let's see what else we've got. Okay, so Black Widow. Oh, sorry, not Black Widow, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, she's just about to take on her binary form. She's hovering above the ground with her foot resting against a rock, about to push off from it, and looks like she's about to punch somebody. Great detail, fantastic looking model, and she's quite powerful in the game. And then Spider-Man, everybody's favourite wall crawler. He's hanging from he's standing on a girder and just about to leap off. And the good thing with the Spider-Man is you get 2 heads. So I'll come on to that in a moment. But Spider-Man's fantastic. And then we have Steve Rogers, Captain America. Now, all the characters have their name written on the card, so it's quite important because it comes into play in the game for choosing multiple characters of the same name. You can't really do it unless they're a different character. So you could have Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, Peter Parker, The Amazing Spider-Man, or Peter Parker, Spider-Man Noir, which is exactly what I'm going to talk about now. So here we've got Red Skull, and Red Skull comes with his hand out holding the Cosmic Cube. It's quite easy to, because of the way Red Skull's designed, to fit in a Spider-Man head and then get a Wild West hat from, say, Wild West Exodus, pop it on, and have him holding the Cosmic Cube as a Rubik Cube, and you've got Spider-Man Noir. So that's my next step forward. I'm going to be doing that with with my second core set, because like Marvel, like Star Wars Legion, you really could do with 2 core sets, especially for the extra dice and range rulers. They really come in handy. Okay, so this is one of my favourite characters in the game so far. This is Crossbones. He is a bit of a powerhouse, and he's quite nasty. Crossbones and Baron Zemo make really, really good characters together. Okay, we have Black Widow. Again, she's well detailed, and I will put all the high-res images down below. And then finally, we have Iron Man. Again, he's got his hand outstretched with his about to launch off a power blast. And the last one is Baron Zemo. Helmut Zemo. When you play the game, you're playing as Baron Zemo or as Red Skull, you really should, by all rights, actually speak with the outrageous German accent, because it works out really well. And it's very funny watching the designers on the live streams chatting away about it, and then not realising what they're actually doing the German accent. Okay, so we'll have a quick look at the cards, and I'll go into things in depth more in a moment. So there are 10 characters in the game. So you get Baron Zemo, Black Widow, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Crossbones, Dr. Octopus, Iron Man, Red Skull, Spider-Man, Ultron. Right, so 10 character cards, and each card is double-sided. So on one side, we'll start off with Ultron. Ultron has got a threat value of 4, which means he's 4 points. If you're playing, your scenario that you've generated is 17, which all the scenarios in the core rules work out at 17. Ultron you'll be able to take because he's only 4 points. Whereas if he was 8 points, you'd be limited to how many figures you could actually take of your roster. And I'll explain how rosters work as well in a moment. So that's his healthy side. He's got my brain's gone. A stamina of 6. He's got a move of medium. He's got a strength of 3. And he's also got a threat of 4. His resistance to physical is 4. His resistance to energy is 3. And his resistance to mystical is 4. And he has got strike as his normal attack ability. He's got an energy blast, and he's got a metallic fury. And then he's got his superpowers down here. Now, I'll explain how all they work as well, because it's quite complicated until you actually get your head around it. Okay, so that's Ultron. We've got a bit of light on him. And then that's his damage side. As you see now, his stamina has gone from 5 to 5. Everything stays the same. And he doesn't change. He has no change on his card when you change him over. But some of the characters become weaker once they get changed over. Or become stronger. Depending on which ones they are. They unlock other abilities, like Captain America is a good example of that. If I can get to Cap. So on Cap's side, his superpowers are a day like another, bodyguard and vibranium shield. And then once he takes damage, he has the same 3 skills, but he also has I can do this all day, which allows him to use blanks to his total successes when he's actually rolling the dice. And you can see the damage on the character card itself. Right, okay, so I'm just going to pause and tidy up a moment, and then I'll get back and we'll investigate further, and we'll have a look through the rule book, and I'll explain a little bit more of how the game works. So if you just bear with me 2 moments. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. I noticed that I made a quick mistake before when I was looking at the cards when I just first started unboxing the game by saying that this value here, which I'm just going to zoom in on, if I can just, there we go. This value here was strength. It's not actually strength, it's size. Strength is actually donated by the dumbbell. Rather than size, so sorry about that. Anyway, rather than redo the entire video, I just thought I'd explain that. Okay, so speaking of the cards, we'll have a quick look at the anatomy of the card. So we have on the top, we have the I'll start again. We have the stamina of the character, which in this case is Captain America. Start off as Captain America is the character. I'll turn it over to the right side. Right, so here we have him uninjured. So it's Captain America and he's Steve Rogers. Now, it says Steve Rogers because Captain America could also be Bucky Barnes. It could also be Sam Wilson. And it could even be Frank Castle. There's been more than one person who's been Captain America. So this is quite important because this allows you to field more than one Captain America, but not more than one Steve Rogers, unless something specific's going on. Anyway, we have his stamina, which is 5, and if you flip his card, you'll actually see that his stamina on the other side, when he actually takes damage, goes up to 6. So he's actually, the more damage he takes, the harder he is to take out, because he can do this all day. Okay, so his stamina is 5. He's got a movement of medium, which is the middle range, which is quite fast for someone like Steve Rogers. He can't fly, so he doesn't have the flight ability, so he doesn't move super fast, which is the long. He's got a size value of 2, which means that he's of average height. Most characters in the game have a size value of 2. And it means then when you actually go to do combat or pick something up to throw at someone, it uses the size value for you actually picking the object up to throw at someone. Obviously, the bigger things are, and the smaller you are, the harder it is, unless, of course, you have got an ability that allows you to do that. And then finally is his threat value. Now, his threat value is 4, and if you actually look through the cards, you'll see that near enough all of them are 4, apart from Crossbones there, he's 3. So if we take these cards here together, so we've got Baron Zemo is 3, Crossbones is 3, so that's 6, Captain America is 4, so that makes 10, Captain Marvel is 4, that makes 14, and Black Widow is 2, that makes 16. So we could take a force from those cards and play it in a scenario up to a threat value of 16 or 17. That'd be no problem at all. Okay, go back to Captain America again, if I can find where I put the card. There we are. The only complaint I've got about the game is the cards. The cards are fantastic. They've got quite a nice finish to them, and they're going to last for quite a while. But I'd rather them be a slightly different size, then we can actually put them into protectors. Now, you can get postcard protectors, but you've got to make sure you are the right size. The ones I ordered were the wrong size and they don't fit, so I'm going to have to track them down, and the ones that I have seen on Amazon have been very expensive. Okay, right, so after the threat value, we have the defenses. So we've got the red fist, the black fist on red is physical. The yellow swirly thing is energy, and the eye, the purple blue eye, is mystic. So Captain America is quite good against mystic, against all attacks really. He's particularly good against physical and against energy attacks because he can use his shield to absorb them, but he's not very good against mystical attacks. So which is probably why he can be controlled by Hydra and stuff like that. But anyway, right, so moving down the card, we have his normal abilities. So this little symbol here is power. That is the number of power that is required to actually use that power. Now that's power 0, which basically means that Captain America can use both those attacks without paying any power off his power allocation, which I'll explain in a second. He's got Shield Slam, which has got a range of 2. It does a strength 6 damage, so you roll 6 dice, and it's got cost 2 power. If target is size 2 or less, this attack is resolved. It may be thrown short. So basically, he slams his shield into them and then picks them up and throws them a short distance, which is like 2.5 inches. Or something like close to that. Right, so because that says 2, you will need 2 power. Now, power icons are generated at the beginning of the game and during the first phase of the game, which is the initial phase. When you do all the upkeep for the characters, and each character, unless stated otherwise, each character will gain a power for every turn that they play. They will also gain a power token for taking damage, and some powers allow them to gain power tokens back. A couple of the characters, basically Venom is quite good at this, and I think MODOK as well, but definitely Venom. They have the ability to actually leech energy off other people. So Venom can actually, he's got a skill called Sweet Snacks, which allows him to actually bite someone when he attacks them, and he can heal energy. For every damage he causes, he can gain an energy back. So if he's been wounded and he's taken 5 stamina damage and he does 5 successes, he'll get 5 wounds back, which makes him very hard to put down. Okay, right, so, and then going further down, we have the actual powers for the skills for the character. Now, the powers work in 3 different ways. You have innate, which is on all the time. So Spider-Man's spider sense is an innate power, and that'll have an infinity symbol around it, like Crossbones here as aggressive, which is, there he is. That's one of his innate abilities. And then you will have an active and a reactive ability. Active abilities means you need to spend power points to actually use them. Reactive abilities used when someone uses something against you. So, like Bodyguard is Captain America's reactive ability, and so is his Vibranium Shield. And he also has this special power here, which is a day like any other, which unlike any other, which is an Avengers only trait. It basically means that when he uses that superpower, the first time it's used each turn, he can reduce the power cost by 1. So if he's using his Shield Slam, it can drop it down to 1 point the first time he uses it per turn. And everyone who's in the Avengers with him can use that power if he's on the field. Okay, so that's basically how the cards work. Once you reach your stamina, so stamina is 5 here on Captain America. Captain America will then take damage and become dazed. Once he's been dazed, during the end phase, when you do all the upkeep, the dazed token goes off and he gets flipped to the other side. And when he gets flipped to the other side, his stats are all the same, more or less, with the exception that he's got 1 extra stamina. Yes, he's got 1 extra stamina, and he's also got the I can do this all day ability, which is an innate ability that just gets unlocked straight away. Sorry, an active, an already active ability. No, I'm losing control here. The ability that acts automatically, like Spider-Man's spider sense. Okay, I'll explain it better when I actually write it down. It's easier for me to explain it when I write it down. Okay, so we're going to have a quick look at the rules themselves now. I'm just going to zoom back out again. Now, as I said, this isn't the actual rule book. This is the how to play book. The rule book is available on the Atomic Mass Games website. It's free to download. It's not a very big file. It's only about 8 megabytes, so you should be able to download it quite easily. And there's two versions. There's a regular version and there's a printer-friendly version, and both of them are quite printer-friendly actually. Okay, so let's crack on. We'll look at the back of the book first, because this is very, very important. This is your quick reference sheet. So we have 3 phases in the game, and this breaks down everything. You have your power phase, which is where everybody gains 1 power. You resolve any effects that have happened from the previous turn, and then you resolve the effects of crisis cards. Now, the crisis cards are used to generate threat and momentum for the game, and they're the ones that actually keep the game narrative moving forward. The activation phase, you resolve any other effects that might have happened at the start of the activation phase. So if a card says during the activation phase, this character takes X amount of damage, that's when it takes place. And then you've got the cleanup phase. During the activation phase, the game is I go, you go, and you can pass from one player. You pass from one player to the next until all players have activated. However, that said, there are certain caveats that allow you to activate more than one character, sorry, per activation, depending on who you're using. So like Baron Zemo can use one of the Cabal cards, which allows him to activate another unactivated character at the side of him, which can be very, very frustrating if you are lined up for the perfect haymaker with your characters. And then finally we have the cleanup phase. This is where you calculate your victory points, which are very, very important in this game. Victory points are one of the ways of winning the game. The other way is to actually have more people left on the board at the end of the round, which is like round 6, which is the final round. And then we've got the attack sequence. Unlike some games, in this game, when you roll criticals, you only affect those after all of the successes and failures have been done. So you resolve the effects before damage. That's like step 12 in this 15-step sequence. It's quite simple once you actually get to play it. And as you'll see when we do the tutorials, because we're going to be doing some tutorials over the next couple of weeks, it's quite simple once you get the hang of it. Okay, right, so also, before I turn over, this has got commonly mistaken rules. Players only roll additional die for criticals once per roll, and not each time a critical is rolled. So it's an exploding dice, but it only explodes once. You don't roll it every single time. So if you roll 5 criticals, you can re-roll all 5 dice, but you can't re-roll those 5 dice if they all get 5 criticals again. Okay, right. So we have our credits with Will Shaker, head of the studio, and then Dallas Kemp, Will Pagini, and then there's lots and lots of folks here. Where's Josh? I can't find Josh, but he's there somewhere. The guys over at Atomic Mass are fantastic. They're really, really sound, and they're very welcoming to questions and such. Okay, so this is just a brief overview of the game and shows you exactly how to play the game. The expanded rules are not that difficult. It's going to be a living rule book, so it will be updated. One thing that I do like is this gives you a breakdown of every single counter that's in the game. So you know what all the counters are just by looking at this wee graph here. This will teach you how to use your crisis cards, and you have 2 different types of crisis card. You have secure or extraction. Secure is you need to secure something. Extraction, you need to extract something. It's quite simple. A lot of people have been getting confused because they've been reading things into this that they shouldn't have done. It's not difficult. It's quite an easy system once you get the hang of things. Okay, and then we have some excellent studio artwork of Captain Marvel. The sculpts are fantastic. The paint jobs are amazing. And then we have an example of how an attack works, how play works. And throughout the game, book, you'll see there's all these little shout-outs which basically explain how things work. So as I say, you've got active powers. Active superpowers can be used at any time during a character's activation. Some powers cost action points some powers require a character to spend a power point to use. This is followed by the word action. All right, and then you've got reactive. Reactive superpowers require a triggering event to be used. So immune to pain. If this character is suffer a wound, it may use this superpower and reduce the amount suffered by 1. So that's Crossbones is immune to pain, which basically injured pain. Sorry, I'm reading this from like 2 feet away. Injured to pain. All right, so it costs 1 point for him to reduce that. And then you have innate powers which are on all the time. So Spider-Man's Spider Sense is an innate power, and Baron Zemo's Strategic Genius, which is an awesome power, is on all the time. We have things like flight. Some characters in the Marvel Universe, quite a lot of them can fly, which means that they count as size 5 for crossing over terrain. So the highest you're going to see in any game is going to be size 5. Maybe size 4 is going to be the highest thing you'll have on your table, but size 5 is considered like a skyscraper. It's the highest thing in the game. Spider-Man has got wall crawling, so Spider-Man can actually get over things using his wall crawling ability. Okay, and that treats exactly the same thing as size 5. Then we've got other things here like leadership, how power works, how to use a dice, how to measure. Now, if you've played games like Star Wars Legion, you'll be quite familiar with the way the measurement works. You put the template at the front of the base and then move it along the length of the base, stopping at the end. Or you can stop anywhere within that gap, which then means that if you've got a larger base character like the Hulk or Venom or MODOK, they can move quite fast, even though they may only have a short range, so they may have movement of small. They're not moving very small because the base actually adds an extra couple of inches to the movement. Okay, then we've got setting up the game. This is the basic scenario, and this is 5 on 5, and they're split up into the teams. Now, as you notice here, we have Captain Marvel, Doc Ock, Captain America, Crossbones, and Iron Man on one team, right? And then the other team, we've got Black Widow, Ultron, Red Skull, Baron Zemo, and Spider-Man. So those are the 10 characters you get in the game. When you set up your game initially, you choose a roster of 10 characters. Doesn't matter who they are, whether they're heroes or villains, friend or foe. That is how you choose your roster. You'll choose your you write down what you want, and then I've got these characters, and then you work out with the threat value what you're going to take. So if it's a threat value of 10, you can only take characters that are up to 10. It's a threat value of 20, which is the card you get with MODOK. You can take characters up to 20. These all are up to 17. So it's not too bad. So simple game. They put differences aside for the greater good for whatever reason, or they could be mind controlled. It's a comic book, and it plays like a comic book reads. It's quite strange, but it's very good. And then more on the game's mechanics and how things work, and how to use objective tokens, and then the cleanup phase. So we go through each of the phases in step-by-step simplicity, and how to make an attack, pushing damage, other effects, falling, area effects, beam weapons, then character damage, and then flipping your character cards over with things like that. Okay, throwing a terrain feature. So you can throw buildings at people, which is quite easy. They always go in a straight line, and they always get thrown basically at the closest. It's normally at the closest target, but you do get a dodge chance if you're being thrown, having something thrown at you. One of the streams that Atomic Mass Games did very recently featured the Hulk picking up a garbage truck and throwing it into Captain Marvel. It was very, very funny. And then here we have the character overviews. So it's basically talking about Captain America and Steve Rogers and Iron Man, Tony Stark, and just basically a bit of blurb about all the characters and their comic background. Now, please note that this is comic backgrounds, not movie backgrounds. So the characters are slightly different. They're more in tune with the actual comic books. For here, you see Ultron, it says originally created by Hank Pym, whereas in Age of Ultron, Ultron's created by Tony Stark and Bruce Banner. Okay, so quite simple, tells you how to do it, and then now we come to the fun part for a lot of people. As well as actually playing the game, one of the fun parts of the game is actually collecting the miniatures and painting them. And because this is a brand new scale, it's not really a new scale, it's a new scale to a lot of people. It's probably close to 142, 144 scale. The cars are 143rd scale, which puts them more or less slap on O scale, O gauge, which is used in model railways, which is great for getting buildings. If you live in the States, which unfortunately I don't, look out for the Ameritown buildings. They are absolutely amazing. I will put a link in the description down below to the Ameritown website. And if anyone in the States decides that they want to help me out and ship some over to me, I'll pay gladly, because the postage over here is horrendous to get them. Okay, so we have assembly diagrams. Read this first. This is how you assemble your figures. And much like other companies like Games Workshop, Modiphius Entertainment, you know, Fantasy Flight, we have an exploded diagram that shows you how to assemble this part. This part goes to this part, that part goes to that part, then you put that part in that part. Dead simple. None of the figures are extremely complex. The one that's got the most parts is Ultron, and he's got the smallest parts, so he's probably going to be the most fiddliest. And then after that is Doc Octopus. There are, as I said earlier on, there are extra bits on the sprues. You get 2 cosmic cubes on the Red Skull sprue, and you get 2 heads on Spider-Man. These are done to not waste space, according to Will Pagini. He says these are done, Will Schick, they're not to waste space, they're extras. So you can use them whatever you want to use them for, you don't have to use them. And then how to assemble, like you see, if Ultron is actually 2 pages. Car, dead simple, put the bottom in, put the glue on the wheels, and away you go. Right, and then the rest of the terrain, and we're back to the beginning again. So that's a quick look through Marvel Crisis Protocol from Atomic Mass Games. And I don't say this very often, but I am more than impressed with this game. I am very, very impressed with this game. And as such, this is Gamers Web's Game of the Year 2019. And I will be making that announcement when this video goes live, and I'll also be putting the award up on my page. I know it doesn't mean very much to anybody apart from myself, but I am highly impressed with this game. Last year's Gamers Web Game of the Year for 2018 was Rumble Slam, and I was very, very impressed with Rumble Slam, and this has bowled me over more or less the same way, in fact probably more. One thing that I need to mention before I finish off is the dice. The dice are just a simple 8-sided die. As I say, you've got your wild, crit, hit, miss, which is a failure, block. You've also got 2 blanks on each dice as well. So you've got, 3 blanks, so you've got 3 chances of missing. Is it 3? No, it's 3 blanks, yes. There's 3 blanks on each dice. So I forgot to put those away. I'm going to go and assemble these figures now and paint them up and get some in the video. And I will put them into the review so you can have a look what they look like. The range for the miniatures is phenomenal. There's Thor and hang on, sorry, the next one that's released is Black Panther and Killmonger, Sherry and Okoye, both from Black Panther, and then Venom, and Following that, we have Thor and Lady Sif, Hela and Loki, Vision and Winter Soldier, and then recently just been announced we have Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive, Gamora and Nebula, Groot and Rocket and Star-Lord, and then coming slightly later on in 2020 we will have Big Purple Chin himself, Thanos. He's coming along. Check out with Gamers Web and check out my comic book page, and you'll see as much as I can actually get to put up. Also, check out your local game store to see if they've got the initiation pack, and go and get a demo. If you're going to be around in Edinburgh in April, we're planning on doing a massive 2-day event at Edinburgh Comic Con, and hopefully we might be able to get into Glasgow Comic Con as well. Right, so once again, big thumbs up. Congratulations to all the guys at Atomic Mass Games. You've done a phenomenal job, and I'm really pleased and honoured to call this my game of the year. So as always, thank you for watching this video. I'm sorry if it's waffled on a little bit, but I tend to do waffle on when I get excited about something. As always, I've been Mark, and thank you for tuning in to Gamers Web, and we'll hopefully see you soon. Have a great one.